Part 69. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 683. Chapter 683, 9 Death Battlefield. Although they are not ancient gods, they are also the spokespersons of ancient gods. In the future, the existence of this kind of divine domain will definitely become ancient gods. Compared with the people in our totem world, they are the true pride of heaven. Li Zixiao stepped forward and said very seriously. I understand. Zhang Zizai nodded. Perhaps to many people, he is now a joke. However, Zhang Zizai did not regret it very much. Judging from the fact that the Demon Lord Cauldron actually resisted the slap of that guy, these two people may not have much say. In comparison, the most headache is to survive, because they said that there are only 2 places, and the others will be finished. This is the most terrible. Compared with this cruel method, what Zhang Zizai did just now is nothing at all. What kind of perverted ancient god would design a test like this? Is he crazy or has water in his brain? Or is he a natural killer? Zhang Zizai was extremely disgusted in his heart, and even accumulated a lot of hatred. He glanced around, and in fact, most people were in panic. It was obvious that they finally realized that Zhang Zizai's incident was just an episode, and the real crisis was their own life and death. It's not the ancient god above, it's the devil, right? Zhang Zizai glanced at the sky, full of disgust. In this ancient demon tomb, he has 2 most important people, Shen Xiao and Ling Xian. If only 2 can survive, even the best result is not enough. Moreover, he now has a very good relationship with the 6 people in the Hidden Dragon Realm, and Zhang Zizai also doesn't want them to die. 20,000 people have died. How long will this tragedy continue? Speaking of which, the designer here is really cruel to the point of making people's scalps numb. Just when people were complaining about the world, the so-called 3rd round of tests came directly, and people had almost no time to react. At this time, the golden roulette in the sky actually changed. 1 is 2, 2 is 4, 4 becomes 8, and 8 is split into 16 again. This continued increase, about 10 breaths of time, the whole sky is already densely packed with golden roulettes. Under the people's attention, countless golden roulettes began to fall from the sky, completely suppressing everyone's head for a while. Zhang Zizai was still thinking about finding a corner and opening the evolution world in a quarter of an hour, but unfortunately he didn't have that time. Suddenly, every golden roulette was actually generating violent suction, which expanded rapidly and instantly transferred to everyone. Zhang Zizai's body was also attracted by this violent force, and he flew directly into the air and flew towards one of the golden roulettes. This is the power of the ancient god, even the Demon Lord Cauldron can't stop it. When he was swallowed, his eyes had seen that almost everyone else was attracted by the golden roulette, and everyone flew into the air. For a while, the scene became extremely chaotic, and everyone was flying in the air. Shen Xiao and Ling Xian, who were around just now, had disappeared directly. The power of the true god was irresistible. In the blink of an eye, Zhang Zizai was sucked into the golden roulette. Only then did the suction disappear. He was completely fixed here. Although he could move freely on the golden roulette, as long as his body was away from the golden roulette for a distance, he would be directly sucked back. Each golden roulette was like a whirlpool. When Zhang Zizai just stood firm, several people soon came to the golden roulette he was in. Everyone was still in shock. He looked around and saw that there were many people standing on dozens of golden roulettes around him. The golden roulettes in the distance were the same, but he couldn't see who those people were. Among the golden roulettes around him, Zhang Zizai could only see that Xiao Yao from the Hidden Dragon Realm was separated from him by 4 golden roulettes. The distance was already very far, and he didn't see Zhang Zizai. As for Shen Xiao and Ling Xian, they were no longer visible. He took a closer look and found that there were exactly 10 people on each golden roulette that had stabilized. Raising Gu, 1 chance of death. These two words instantly made Zhang Zizai understand what the ancient god wanted to do by putting them in this golden roulette. Raising goo is to let the goo insects kill each other, so as to select the strongest one. The ancient god put people on this golden roulette. Each golden roulette has 10 people, 1 chance of death. What is the difference between this and raising goo? 1 chance of death means 9 deaths and 1 life. If every golden roulette is like this, then in a very short time, their tens of thousands of people will be directly reduced to only about 3,000 people. If it happens again, I am afraid there will be only 300 people. It won't take much time to select 30 people, or even 3 people. Such a cruel method really opened Zhang Zizai's eyes. How he despised their lives made Zhang Zizai extremely angry. How can a human being be a pawn like this, and become the executioner of his fellow countrymen? If one survives in this way, then what is the meaning of survival? Who can bear the feeling of being controlled, played with, and treated like a bug? Ancient God, is this kind of stuff? Or is this group of people really the ancient gods? He didn't believe it. It was hard to believe. Zhang Zizai's eyes were like torches, looking at the highest place. The golden roulette still existed, but he couldn't figure out what those high-ranking beings above wanted. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. What's the difference between this and enslaving the people and taking human lives? With his own strength, it is unlikely that he can kill to the end, not to mention that he is worried about Shen Xiao and Ling Xian. Now he can't see them at all. He brought them here. How can he feel at ease? Zhang Zizai's eyes were bloodshot, looking at the sky coldly, with a ball of anger burning in his chest, about to burst out from his throat. 9 deaths and 1 life, you think we are ants? Becoming an ancient god, you can despise life like this. He could only sneer in his heart. However, he still underestimated the power of the ancient gods. When Zhang Zizai didn't intend to kill anyone at all, the other 9 people actually surrounded him, clearly intending to kill him. Because, after all, he was an alternative among them. Each of them had a fiery look in their eyes, as if they could get a lot from Zhang Zizai, and if they killed Zhang Zizai, they would get his fortune. The incomplete map. Zhang Zizai himself did not expect that the incomplete map in the space jade pendant would actually fly out. 2 large and 1 small incomplete maps were attached to his arm, and began to shine with the light of stars, looking very dazzling. The light of the incomplete map was so bright. I forgot to tell you that in each 9-death battlefield, if the winner cannot be determined within 10 days, then everyone in it must die. The voice of that person came again from the sky. There was a scornful smile in the voice. There are still 2 chapters. At 2200 hours in the evening, read the chapters and watch the World Cup. Haha. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 684. This setting almost forced all the people on the Golden Roulette 9-death battlefield to have no time to sigh, and they could only fight hard, even intrigue, and fight wits and courage. They no longer had the time and mood to question and resent the ancient gods, because as long as they questioned, they would only die faster. When others were trying their best to survive, who had the time to stick to the so-called principles? Some people were unwilling to kill, but under the sinister rules, someone killed you in advance, even if it was a passive battle, it was also joining the battle. At this moment, even if people were panicked, even if many people were scared to tears, even if many girls started crying and their emotions were completely broken, they could not stop some 9-death battlefields from starting to fight. Those who survive in such a dangerous battlefield are the true chosen ones. Since we are here, why should we fear challenges or death? Without the chance to become a god, we will eventually die. The so-called brave should move forward bravely at this time and fight to the end with the will to die. God is fair and everyone has a chance. Many people began to motivate themselves, which is actually a kind of self-hypnosis. But they are right. This battlefield where one has to survive is cruel and inhumane, but it is fair. In such a place, even the strongest may die in battle, because the strongest are often besieged at the first time. In such a battlefield where one has to fight wits and courage, sometimes anyone may survive in the end. For example, Zhang Zizai is not the strongest, but everyone is staring at him. 9 people are staring at him. Under the stimulation of the fighting sounds in other battlefields, they have surrounded Zhang Zizai, and their faces are already very cold. Among the 9 people, 5 are at the 6th level of Tianyuan realm. They survived purely because Zhang Zizai saved them, but unfortunately they didn't appreciate it. The remaining 4 are at the 7th level of Tianyuan realm, 2 of whom are from the central totem world. One of them is called Qianyi, who comes from the Blue Sea totem world and has the top totem thousand-handed octopus king totem. The other person is more familiar to Zhang Zizai. He is Zhang Qi from the Holy Emperor totem world and has the universe level totem Infernal Fire Holy Soul totem. In terms of combat power, Zhang Qi may be the strongest here. But no one is targeting him now, because everyone is looking at Zhang Zizai. Want to kill me first? Just do it. Zhang Zizai is not despising them. Under normal circumstances, if they join forces, they can definitely kill him in seconds. The ancient god is fair. The big tripod he got before may not be usable now, Zhang Qi said to everyone. The remaining map on him is the largest. If we can kill him, it must be a great fortune. He has offended the ancient god, there is no hope. If we can transfer his fortune. At this point, the 9 of them had very fiery eyes. In addition, the other battlefields were already in full swing at this time, and they had already been jealous. Obviously, in this battlefield of 9 deaths, defeating anyone is not as valuable as killing Zhang Zizai. After all, the remaining map in his hand can be said to be very obvious, shining brighter than everyone else around. So, led by Zhang Qi and Qianyi, the 9 of them launched an attack from all directions. In a very short time, the violent storm-like attack poured down on Zhang Zizai, just like the sky fell down and bombarded Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai was motionless, because when they attacked, the Demon Lord Cauldron had already reacted. In the blink of an eye, the Demon Lord Cauldron appeared. All their attacks hit the Demon Lord Cauldron, and a strong shock was generated for a while. The rebound force of the shock hit them, and Zhang Zizai was blown away. Many people vomited blood. The rebound force of the Demon Lord Cauldron was too strong, and it directly shook them away and out of the range of the golden roulette, causing them to be sucked back again and hit hard on the golden roulette. Everyone was crying, and they were afraid that their bones had fallen apart. This time, the suction force of the golden roulette was stronger than last time. It is very likely that their rapid return this time was considered as escaping, so they were punished. All this was not beyond Zhang Zizai's expectations. When Zhang Qi and the others got up and saw that Zhang Zizai was unharmed, they looked at Zhang Zizai with a dull look, their eyes full of despair and sadness, because if they couldn't defeat Zhang Zizai, none of them would be able to leave alive, and as long as Zhang Zizai didn't die, all of them would die. Have you figured it out? Only one person can leave here alive. If we don't kill Zhang Zizai, none of us have a chance, Zhang Qi said hoarsely. He's right. Only if we get him, we can have a chance to win. Otherwise, everyone will waste time here, without any hope, Qianyi said nervously. The protection of his cauldron will always reach its limit, and that's our chance. If they didn't start with Zhang Zizai first, and they fought first, then no one would be able to break Zhang Zizai's Demon Lord Cauldron, and the final result would definitely be that Zhang Zizai would reap the benefits. So, they jumped up again and attacked Zhang Zizai one after another. Even if the result would be the same, they would not give up for the sake of survival. They would blow up Zhang Zizai in the Demon Lord's Cauldron with tears in their eyes. Zhang Qi's karmic fire burned, Qianyi's thousand-hand hammer struck, etc. In fact, Seeing them making meaningless efforts with endless fear seemed quite pitiful, but Zhang Zizai had no choice. It was not him who forced them into this desperate situation, but those high-ranking beings from the divine realm in the sky. They could not break the Demon Lord Cauldron at all, so Zhang Zizai could ignore them. He had nothing to do, so he sat cross-legged on this golden color wheel. Even if there was only 10 days, he could use it to practice without taking the initiative. He felt that he needed to calm down and think about how to go next. But before that, he still needed to study the very wonderful changes produced by 4 things in the Space Jade Pendant. These 4 things were Zhang Zizai's God Killer, the God Slayer obtained from the Tomb of the Servant, the God Killer obtained from the Tomb of the Ancient Demon Tong Tian, and the incomplete God Killer from Xiaozhan Tian. When these 4 things came together and coexisted in a Space Jade Pendant, Zhang Zizai did not notice it at first, but they actually approached each other, intertwined with each other, and quietly formed a change. This change started with the 2 incomplete God-slaying swords. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 685. In the Space Jade Pendant, 2 black balls were glued together. In about 10 breaths, they merged with each other and finally formed a whole. The broken totem patterns between them began to complement each other, until finally forming a complete totem pattern. At this time, the feeling of the new god killing was exactly the same as beheading and killing gods. This is strange. Why is the god killing obtained by the violent ape in the evolutionary world and the reward obtained in the demon tomb of the ancient demon Xiaozhan Tian in the ancient demon tomb 2 incomplete parts of the same magic weapon? The 2 places are really too different, so Zhang Zizai can't figure out what kind of involvement and secrets are hidden in it. I'm afraid it's impossible to figure it out just by thinking. The new god killing is finally complete. It has left the level of Kun level magic weapons. It should be the level of the top magic weapon in the world, the Gen level totem magic weapon. Generally speaking, only the initial god realm can have such a weapon, but Zhang Zizai has a total of 3, which is really enviable. What is the connection between god killing, god slaying and god killing? Zhang Zizai was still guessing, but the following changes made him stunned. These 3 complete divine weapon spheres actually approached each other at this time, and finally became triangles, and then began to rotate and approach. Unconsciously, the 3 spheres began to merge. When the 9 people attacked Zhang Zizai, the 3 spheres completely merged together and became a black ball smaller than any of the original spheres. However, there were many complex totem patterns on the surface of this black ball. The totem patterns of the 3 not only merged together, but also grew a lot. God killing, God slaying, and God killing merged into one and became a brand new divine weapon. This was something Zhang Zizai had never expected. He sat cross-legged on the ground, ignoring those who were still attacking him, took out the brand new black ball, and observed the totem patterns on the black ball. When his Tianyuan power entered it, those totem patterns gradually changed, and finally formed a few blood-colored small characters -33 Tian killing god mysterious weapon. The 33 heavens god killing mysterious weapon. Obviously, this is the name of this new weapon. It retains the characteristics of the previous god killing and can be transformed into many kinds of weapons, including swords, spears, halberds, and even boxing gloves. Why is it called this name? Zhang Zizai was a little puzzled. However, he was very curious about the power of this magic weapon composed of god killing, god slaying, and god beheading. The people who were still attacking him gave him a chance to practice. The Demon Lord Cauldron made him an invincible King Kong, but it did not increase his offensive ability at all. Zhang Zizai estimated that in terms of pure combat power, he should be about the same as Zhang Qi. At this time, he held the 33 heavenly god-killing mysterious soldier in his hand, and it turned into a black sword. A bloodline in the middle of the blade seemed to have blood flowing. This sword was extremely gloomy. When Zhang Zizai infused the power of the heavenly source into it, his temperament suddenly changed. What Zhang Qi and the others saw was that Zhang Zizai seemed to have a sea of blood and corpses on his body in an instant. The violent evil spirit and murderous aura rushed like a storm. His eyes were so terrifying that the 9 of them did not dare to step forward for a while. What's the matter with that sword? It seems to be obtained in the tomb of the ancient demon Tong Tian. Is it another magic weapon comparable to the big tripod? Such a Zhang Zizai has already frightened them. Their attacks are ineffective against Zhang Zizai. Under this premise, Zhang Zizai can completely use desperate fighting to scare everyone. If he has consumption, the big tripod may also break at this juncture. They can only guess like this. Go. Despite the fear of the sky-high evil spirit brought by this sword, they still besieged it for survival. Meteor. Without saying anything, Zhang Zizai unfolded his body movements and used the sword in his hand to perform the Star God Sword Manual. The first move of the Star God Sword Manual, the sword in his hand turned into stars in the sky in an instant. The stars were extremely bright and dazzling. At that moment the starlight shone, but when it fell with a bang, each meteor was stained with blood, as if it had turned into a devil with a green face and fangs, falling with a bang. Zhang Zizai actually used one person's sword moves to face the 9 of them. To be honest, they are really not weak, especially the few Tianyuan Realm 7th level, who can definitely block Zhang Zizai's attack, but the other Tianyuan Realm 6th level can't do it. Under the fall of Zhang Zizai's meteor, they quickly collapsed, and each of them had bloody sword marks on their bodies. Puff! The sword light swept past, and 5 people fell directly, but Zhang Zizai did not kill them. The power of the killing god mystical soldier has raised my combat power by at least half a realm. This is the conclusion drawn by Zhang Zizai. He could originally fight against the 7th level of Tianyuan realm. Now with the terrifying killing power of the killing god mystical soldier, he estimated that he could crush any 7th level of Tianyuan realm. Facing the siege of the 7th level of Tianyuan realm, he also had no problem. Next, continue to attack and defeat them one by one. When the last Zhang Qi fell at his feet, no one on this golden roulette was his opponent. I remember that before coming to the well of the divine realm, he could only deal with the 1st level of Tianyuan realm. The progress during this period was really too great. Yuan, are you going to kill us? Zhang Qi's face was pale. He struggled to raise his head. He was the most aggrieved. He couldn't beat Zhang Zizai at all. The other party relied on the turtle shell and was fearless, so he could easily kill him. The 9 of them were actually desperate and already disheartened. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Death is like a nightmare hanging over their heads. It is easy to defeat them, but how to kill them is the most difficult thing in the world. It is difficult for Zhang Zizai to go against his heart, because this is not what he does. He felt that if he compromised like this, even his father would look down on him. Therefore, he stood there without making a choice. After all, there were still 9 days left. If you don't kill us, we will kill you. I didn't expect you to be so indecisive. It's really ridiculous. Zhang Qi's eyes showed contempt. What do you mean? Zhang Zizai asked. Why are you being a holy mother? Be a man and just be better. Either we die, and if you feel bad about it, you can commit suicide yourself so that you don't have to worry about it anymore, he sneered. Are you anxious to die? Zhang Zizai asked. Haha, I can't kill you anyway. Even if you don't kill me, you still won't be able to survive. If you are the true holy mother, you should do well and commit suicide first. Zhang Zizi was silent. He stood there while they continued to attack desperately. Maybe they were all crazy. I don't know when, their bodies dissipated in front of Zhang Zizai, as if they turned into golden dust and disappeared. Zhang Zizi was stunned for a moment, but he didn't take the initiative. But at this moment, he was sucked up by the new golden roulette and reached a higher level, which meant that he had passed the first level. The opponents in the second level are all characters who narrowly escaped death. Fortunately, I didn't know anyone. But Zhang Zizai suddenly saw three familiar people appearing on the golden roulette wheel next to him. Shen Xiao, Ling Xian, and Zhang Fanchen. Of the three of them, only one can survive. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 686. Zhang Zizai's Golden Roulette. None of the 9 people could hit him at the 7th level of the Tianyuan realm, and all of them had just experienced a deadly battle, were panting, and even dying. One person who could pose a threat to him, none. Each of them came here after eliminating 9 others. A total of 99 and 81 people should have lost their lives. Including the 9 people Zhang Zizai eliminated, there were 90 people in total. They turned into golden powder and dissipated. Zhang Zizai didn't take any action. They were exhausted in the melee and finally disappeared. Boarding a new golden roulette wheel means that only 3,000 people are left out of 30,000. How cruel and ruthless is this? Countless totem worlds never imagined that the top geniuses in their worlds would be slaughtered like nothing here. It can be seen that everyone's face is tense when standing on this golden roulette wheel. The serious atmosphere makes everyone hover on the edge of death. The crisis of death was like a giant beast crawling beside them, leaving everyone breathless. After the first battle, many people's eyes were red from the killing. They looked like bloody beasts, but this could not hide their innermost feelings of fear and despair. Everyone's heart is on the verge of collapse. Zhang Zizai was protected by the incredible demon lord Cauldron, and his heart was still stable enough. However, when he suddenly saw the golden roulette wheel not far away, Shen Xiao and Ling Xian appeared with Zhang Fanchen. After the same golden roulette, his heart was completely suspended. He could already feel the desperate and manic mood of others. The moment the two of them saw each other, they were already very helpless. They didn't expect that there would be Zhang Fanchen, the number 1 genius in the Well of God's domain, on their golden roulette wheel. This has undoubtedly pronounced that they, along with everyone on this golden roulette wheel, are almost doomed. Desperate eyes instantly appeared on the people around them. They probably also feel very depressed. They didn't even have time to see that Zhang Zizai was actually near them. Although the golden roulette over there looks similar to here, the two don't seem to be in the same world, and even the sound is completely isolated. There were people over there crying. Only Zhang Fanchen's face was very cold. He had strong confidence in himself, so the test of 9 people at once was easy for him. He easily eliminated 9 people and arrived here. When he saw that the eyes of the 9 people around him had turned desperate after seeing him, he had begun to get used to it. Perhaps, the seniors of the divine realm want me to swim against the current and have the courage to kill decisively. Only those who stand out among tens of thousands of people are qualified to enter the divine realm and become a god. His eyes were extremely intense. When Shen Xiao and Ling Xian appeared in his sight, he was slightly stunned, and then laughed wildly. There is nothing in the world that is better than this situation. 2 enemies have appeared at once, and they have become the turtles in the jar. How lucky is this? He really wanted to see Zhang Zizai. When he thought this, he couldn't help but look around, and suddenly he saw Zhang Zizai not far away. The smile on his face became even more joyful, which simply made Zhang Zizai look at him and kill the people around him. It seems that the ancient gods of the Holy Emperor Tianmen must be on my side. After all, the totems in our Holy Emperor totem world all come from the Holy Emperor. They and I belong to the same bloodline, Zhang Fanchen thought to himself. He hooked his fingers in Zhang Zizai's direction. When Zhang Zizai's eyes collided with his, he pointed at his own eyes, meaning that Zhang Zizai should take a good look, and then made a gesture of wiping his neck, showing his murderous intention. Because of his guidance, Shen Xiao and Ling Xian also saw Zhang Zizai. Their expressions were rather helpless. Faced with this near-death situation, there is only one person destined to leave on their golden roulette wheel. There are two people Zhang Zizai cares about. Zhang Ziyai is here, and the 9 people who are still alive have begun to besiege him, but it is still the same as before, their attacks cannot break the Demon Lord's cauldron at all. Zhang Ziyai stands here as if nothing happened. The attacks of the people next to him are to him it's like an ant itching. On the other side, what he saw was that the same 9 people began to besiege the strongest Zhang Fanchen. In addition to Zhang Fanchen, their group also had an existence at the 8th level of Tianyuan realm. Led by that young man, everyone wanted to overthrow Zhang Fanchen, so that they would have hope. Shen Xiao and Ling Xian also joined in, but with their 4th level Tianyuan realm combat power, their help was very limited. Even if they borrowed power in the 9 dragons battle formation, they could only fight the 7th level of Tianyuan realm at most. Although their growth rate is very scary, the gap accumulated in the previous 10 years cannot be filled in a day or two. You don't have to work in vain. Since I arranged for you to be in front of me, you are nothing more than a stepping stone for me. Zhang Fanchen had a smile on his face. His peak strength at the 9th level of the Tianyuan realm made him like a storm. When the person at the 8th level of the Tianyuan realm met him, he was punched out and turned into gold in an instant. The fragments dissipated in the air. In less than 3 breaths, the 9 people had turned into 8, and the strongest among them retreated immediately. Others continued to go forward, but their trembling legs had betrayed them. They watched with their own eyes as the people around them were completely controlled by Zhang Fanchen. He punched one by one, and almost everyone was turned into golden fragments under his fist. He was like a peerless war god, and his opponents were instantly annihilated in front of him. In the blink of an eye, only Shen Xiao and Ling Xian were left in front of him. The fragments of the other people on the golden roulette were still withering, like heavy rain. Why do people turn into golden fragments after death? Perhaps this is the special preference of the ancient gods. They don't like to see too bloody scenes. When Zhang Fanchen, Shen Xiao and Ling Xian were left, he stopped, looked in the direction of Zhang Zizai, hooked his hand to him, and then motioned him to open his eyes and watch how he killed people. Zhang Zizai's eyes were already blood red, and endless anger burned in his chest, as if he was about to explode. He let out a low roar like a wild animal, and suddenly rushed out of the golden roulette wheel without paying attention to the people who were still besieging him. He actually wanted to rush to Zhang Fanchen. The fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 687. Boom. When he got away from the golden roulette for a certain distance, before he reached the other side, the terrifying suction force from the golden roulette acted on him, sucking him back crazily and hitting the golden roulette hard. On the color roulette. When the Demon Lord's cauldron collided with the golden roulette wheel, making a harsh sound. Zhang Zizai was so shaken that his mind became a little confused. They let me take risks, I can't let them die before me. Zhang Zizi struggled to get up. Both of them are different from before. Shen Xiao had harmed him before, but it was due to his ignorance when he was young, and Ling Xian regarded herself as a support for moving forward. She was willing to follow him, but she did not want any identity. Being together on this journey together is the rarest fate in life. Maybe it is unlikely that they will have a relationship in the future, but Zhang Zizai has always believed that it is his responsibility to protect them. Fu'er, Yan'er. Zhang Zizai quickly got up. Zhang Fanchen, you are just jealous that I get more than you. But you are targeting me like this. If you don't take revenge, my head can be your chamber pot. And you. Zhang Zizai really hates Zhang Fanchen, but what he hates even more at this moment is actually those beings in the sky. They are the ones who set up this shameless game rule to take human lives. They are the ones who arranged all this. What are their intentions in doing this? A conscientious thing? Tens of thousands of people come in and 2 people get out alive? What test is this? This is simply a slaughterhouse. But Zhang Zizai knew that they definitely didn't care. After all, from their perspective, how could these tens of thousands of geniuses come here to die if they weren't greedy for treasure? But Zhang Zizai knew that they were not coveting treasures, they just wanted the opportunity to advance to a higher world and realm, and they just wanted to make progress. This is only natural. You think you are so superior that you can treat people like beasts? If this is the style of the ancient gods, then are the so-called ancient gods really worthy of the worship of the people in the world? Zhang Zizai was suspicious, he had strong suspicions, but at this moment, he just wanted to do everything possible to let them live. Unfortunately, it seems that according to the rules of this game, everything he did was in vain. He rushed out of the golden roulette countless times, and was sucked back countless times and smashed to the ground. If it were anyone else, he would have been smashed to pieces. Many people on the golden roulette wheel have seen this crazy person, but they have no time to sigh, because they can't protect themselves, so how can they be qualified to care about others? Zhang Fanchen was the only one who enjoyed seeing this person struggling but unable to do anything about himself. He was very happy. He was not going to kill them both right away. He had plenty of time anyway. Next, I'm going to play with you slowly and kill you slowly, Zhang Fanchen said with a smile. What are you planning? We have trouble with him, but you are miserable. The more miserable he is, the happier I feel, he said with a smile. Shen Xiao glanced at Zhang Zizai, who was unable to fight against the golden roulette wheel. In fact, her eyes were a little red. When did he become so important to him? Although she was moved in her heart, she faced Zhang Fanchen fearlessly. The so-called number 1 genius in the Well of God's realm is not like this. I thought that a person like you would have a very high level of creation, but in fact it is nothing more than that. Compared to us, he is just a little stronger. Shen Xiao shook his head at him and sighed. Oh, if you say a few more words, it will give me a lot more ideas to torture you until you are worse than dead. Zhang Fanchen stared at her body, took a greedy look, and said, your appearance and figure, you have a good temperament, but it's a pity that Zhang Zizai must have played to death, otherwise I can still enjoy it, but I can show you your ketone body. You are so shameless, you must have obtained the true inheritance from your father? Are all of you in the world of holy emperor totems like you? Shen Xiao rolled his eyes, showing no fear at all. You want to anger me and make me lose control and end it for you first? You underestimate me too much, Zhang Fanchen said. No, I just purely look down on you. You seem serious and upright, but in fact, you are dark, jealous, and willful. You are a living clown. Although Zhang Zizai is also shameless, compared to you, he is simply a saint god. Xiao said coldly, her eyes were indeed filled with contempt. Haha. Let's start the show then. Zhang Fanchen was actually a little angry, but he still had to control his temper and humiliate them slowly, so that he could relieve the hatred in his heart. He has the power to control everything, surpassing the 5 realms of Shen Xiao and others. When he took action, the entire golden roulette was completely under his control. Under his monstrous momentum, the 2 of them could not even move. I want you to kneel down and beg for mercy, and call me daddy. Zhang Fanchen was so excited when he thought of that scene. When they met for the first time, they would never have guessed that this was his true face. Even Shen Xiao felt that shameless was no longer enough to describe him. She glanced at Zhang Zizai, who was still rushing towards the side. Suddenly I felt that he seemed to be a fool. However, just like this, he suddenly seemed very cute. All the previous dissatisfaction with him had been wiped out long ago when he saw his hard work and mania. People are afraid of comparison. When he compared with Zhang Fanchen, he seemed so outstanding. On the other hand, Zhang Fanchen was so ugly that it made people sick. Yan'er, are you ready? At this moment, Shen Xiao turned sideways and faced Ling Xian, with a sacred light flashing in their eyes. "I've been ready for a long time," Ling Xian nodded. She was just looking at Zhang Zizai in a trance. "Don't be afraid, it's not a big deal," Shen Xiao smiled. Yeah, she nodded gently. They suddenly turned their heads at the same time and smiled at Zhang Zizai, who wanted to rush over here. This smile was very indifferent, and there was no fear at all. It was hard to imagine how they could have such a state of mind before they died. Pretend seeing this, Zhang Fanchen only sneered in his heart, because he had seen many people who shed tears when they saw the coffin. But what he could never figure out was that just when he was about to start the performance, the two women suddenly slapped each other's chest heavily like mortal enemies. This palm was definitely not light. Both of them were directly knocked away. In the process of being knocked away, they turned directly into golden fragments and began to disappear. With a buzzing sound, Zhang Fanchen was the only one left standing there on the golden wheel. He never expected that these two women would kill each other. For the fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 688. They just don't want Zhang Fanchen to kill them, they just don't want her to touch them, and they don't want him to feel comfortable. Interesting. Zhang Fanchen smiled helplessly. He would leave the golden roulette and go to the next level. At this time, he took a last look at Zhang Zizai. He found that the boy was standing on the golden roulette and looking at him. At that moment, he was suddenly frightened by Zhang Zizai's eyes. It was a terrible look, like the spirit of death. This bloodthirsty and cold look made him feel a little chilled. This made him feel very humiliated. However, the more humiliated he was, the more flustered he was. He could only turn his head away and dared not look at Zhang Zizai again. Then, he left here and was swallowed by the new golden roulette. Everything here has dissipated, leaving only the powder on the golden roulette still floating, indicating that they once existed in this world. At this moment, Zhang Zizai was staring at these fragments in a trance. He has tried his best. The question is, are they dead? According to the rules of the game here, they are already dead. But why did they give him such a calm smile at that time? Did they think that they would not die at all if they turned into golden fragments? They have so many treasures on them, and the holy dragon armor and the talisman were not left for Zhang Fanchen to get. The holy dragon armor and the talisman are things that cannot disappear out of thin air. So, they must exist. Does that mean that they may still exist after turning into golden fragments? Even they themselves guess that they will not die. This is Zhang Zizai's only belief. Otherwise, it would be unbearable for him to watch them leave this world with his own eyes. He can still hold on just to know whether they are alive or dead. But, with the shamelessness of this group of people in the sky, do they just want us to think that we will not die, so that we can deal with it casually? But in fact, the real ending is already dead. This is what he is worried about. What if they are fooled themselves? It can be seen that they should think that they will not die, but the key is, are they right? This is the ancient demon tomb. Even if they won't die, that person has already said that they will stay here forever as soul servants, which is even more terrifying than death. Will they become soul servants and stay here forever? Zhang Zizai raised his head, and in anger, he thought about his future direction. In this case, I must climb to the highest place to see. If I die in the middle, no one will avenge us. We can't die so unclearly. If they are still alive, I must save them. The only way is to keep living and become two people who can live. Maybe, I will have a glimmer of hope. He originally refused this way, but now he has no choice. He is not sure whether these life and death are real life and death. He can only move forward to the highest place. Only in this way, he may have the power to change. At least, he has the protection of the demon lord Cauldron. Yanur, Yanur, you must wait for me. I will avenge you and make those who should pay the price pay a heavy price. I will also let you leave here alive with me. Go to that damn ancient god, go to that damn Saint Emperor Tianmen. His eyes were burning, and the blood in them seemed to be burning. He was like a completely burned person at this moment, with endless anger all over his body. Zhang Fanchen, he remembered it. He also remembered the existences who set up the rules of the game. Someone has to pay the price. If possible, if I find a chance, I will make you live a life worse than death. He looked at the sky with blazing eyes. He has always been a daring person, and this time is no exception. The ancient god is indeed high above, and it is indeed terrifying to be able to set such game rules in such a place, but he has the right to retaliate. Maybe, I am just a weed in their eyes now, not worth mentioning, their cricket, the poison they raise, but don't let me get the chance. This time, he was completely angry. The blood vessels in his body are about to explode. He couldn't stand it at all. He actually watched the two of them die without being able to do anything. If he could fight to the death for them, he could bear it in his heart. Now, such a powerless way is simply unbearable. Everyone, I'm sorry, Zhang Zizai said to the 9 people around him. He must go on. He must not let all this go on in such an unclear way. So, he took action. In front of him, the opponents who were completely helpless against him turned into golden fragments and dissipated. Zhang Zizai found that his attack was not fatal enough, and the opponent had already collapsed into golden fragments. He held up the golden fragments. Are these corpses? The two cannot be connected at all. But if we have a fluke mentality because of this, thinking that it will not be the case even if we die, wouldn't it fall into the trap of these chess players? They are chess pieces, those beings from the god's realm, who set up a chess game here. Now Zhang Zizai just wants to see whether he, an unknown person, will die at the end of this game. He dealt with 9 more difficult opponents this time and entered the next round. At this time, he was sucked up to a higher roulette wheel and came to the 3rd roulette wheel. When he came here, he found that there was no one here, and he could not move for the time being. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. He understood. It seems that the 2nd round of battles is not over yet. Only when it is over, the winner will come here. Last time, I didn't get to the golden roulette wheel of the 2nd round until the 10th day, so it was full of people when I went up. This time he dealt with his opponent too quickly, so there was only him, and many golden roulette wheels around were empty, and no one had come to suppress the heroes. If it is full of people here, it means that there are only 300 people left. From 30,000 to 3,000, from 3,000 to 300, the number dropped too fast, as if it was not life that was reduced, but a bunch of emotionless numbers. Only by seeing it with your own eyes can you know how many people died in despair. In the following time, Zhang Zizai's opponents slowly appeared. The 300 people who were able to kill out of the 30,000 people were at least at the 8th level of Tianyuan realm, and some were at the 7th level of Tianyuan realm, which could be considered very lucky. But that was the end. At least in this roulette, Zhang Zizai no longer had the 7th level of Tianyuan realm, all of them were at the 8th level of Tianyuan realm, and he had seen many of them before. Nan Tianyi from the Fengtian Totem world was Nan Tianyi's younger brother. Huangfulun from the Holy Demon Totem world was the cousin of their leader Huangfukun, and they were also closely related by blood. There was also Zhang Fanjian from the Holy Emperor Totem world, who was Zhang Fanjian's cousin and was at the 8th level of Tianyuan realm at the age of 19. Zhang Shenhua from the Sword Soul Totem world was the second to last to come here. Except for Zhang Zizai, all of them were at the 8th level of Tianyuan realm, and more than half of them were from the Central Totem world. The competition in this golden roulette was unprecedentedly fierce. Zhang Zizhe was not afraid at all. But when the last person appeared here, he was still depressed. He hated those people above him even more. Because the last person was Zhang Yaoken. First 3 chapters, the rest at 2200 hours. For the fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 689. By the third round, everyone had experienced 2 near-death experiences and became the survivors. With their strength, it was no problem for them to rank in the top 300 among tens of thousands of people, so they were not too tired after the third round, and everyone maintained a strong fighting power. After escaping death twice, everyone's will was different from those before. Those who had played the last golden roulette were exhausted, and these 9 basically had cold eyes, which were gradually stained with blood. Everyone wanted to survive and live, and since they couldn't change the rules, they could only continue. Like the previous geniuses, when they saw that Zhang Zizhe was in the golden roulette this time, they all frowned, obviously very depressed. At this point, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Even the ancient gods failed to break his demon lord cauldron. With Zhang Zizhe being consumed here, it is really too difficult to leave here alive within 10 days. After Zhang Yaoken arrived, everyone was already there. After everyone was together, they could finally move. After they could move, Zhang Yaoken came directly to Zhang Zizhe's side. Everyone looked at each other, and there was a dead silence at first. Zhang Zizhe, you are here, which makes it difficult for us to deal with it, Nan Tianyi from the Fengtian Totem world said. This person is a little short, but very strong, making it difficult for people to associate him with a totem like the phoenix. The cauldron can protect you from death. As long as you don't die, we have no hope of survival. The one who spoke at this time was Zhang Fanjian from the Saint Emperor Totem world. This man was as handsome and suave as Zhang Fanjian, but he was much more slick than Zhang Fanjian, with a face full of powder and a dandy character in his gestures. So, what do you think? Asked Huangfulun from the Holy Demon Totem world. This man was wearing a black robe and had dark skin, like a bat shrouded in dark shadows. There is no hope except to defeat him together. Then don't waste time, get Zhang Yaoken first. They are in the same group. Zhang Fanjian's eyes locked on Zhang Yaoken, who has always been his enemy. If we don't break the tortoise shell, we really have no way to survive. Zhang Fanjian laughed. Facing the siege of the 8 of them, Zhang Zizhe and Zhang Yaoken looked at each other. In fact, life and death is such a simple matter. There is only a way for 2 people to survive, and there is no possibility that it belongs to me, so even if you and I take action, it doesn't matter, understand? Zhang Yaoken said. Understood. He is a straightforward person. Based on the previous side-by-side battles, Zhang Zizhe regarded him as a true friend. They are all totem warriors of the dragon totem, and they are originally from the same source. The fact that they met here now was arranged by those beings above. Even if Zhang Yaoken died, he died at the hands of those people above. Like Shen Xiao and Ling Xian, Zhang Zizhe will try every means to keep them alive. Just stand by my side first, they can't touch you, Zhang Zizhe said. Anyway, it's impossible to let these people knock him down first. He sat cross-legged on the ground. When the 8th level Tianyuan realm people began to attack, Zhang Zizhe focused on cultivation. In fact, his biggest problem now is that others can't really kill him, but he can't kill others either. If this goes on, he will have to leave when the 10 days expire. So the only hope became cultivation, so he didn't care about anything else and just sat down to practice the eternal heavenly dragon visualization method. His disdainful attitude almost angered the 8 of them. 8 strong men of this realm besieged him, which was basically equivalent to 8 palace masters of the divine sect. However, under the protection of the demon lord cauldron, Zhang Zizhe remained motionless, while they were blown away one after another and fell to the ground. Zhang Yaoken, however, was standing within the range of the Demon Lord Cauldron, and he was also fine. The range of the Demon Lord Cauldron was not too large, but there was no problem in saving one or two people. The power of the Demon Lord Cauldron once again infuriated people. Zhang Yaoken put his hands behind his back and watched their performance with boredom. Zhang Yaoken, you know in your heart that if the stalemate continues, none of the 10 of us will survive. Why don't you get rid of him first? There are 9 of us, and one person can survive, Huang Fulun asked in a persuasive manner. What a joke, if I move him, he will be automatically ejected. How dare I do it? Zhang Yaoken waved his hand and said innocently. His statement was really speechless. But everyone really had no choice. Then, they will find that their attack is actually endless and futile. As early as the beginning, people saw that even the ancient gods seemed to have failed to break Zhang Zizai and get this treasure, let alone them. After half an hour of futile efforts, they stopped, and everyone showed a desperate expression. Okay, let's all wait for death together. Zhang Fanshan's voice trembled, and he was obviously a little afraid of the future. Zhang Zizai, why bother, isn't it better to leave one person alive? Nan Tianyi asked. Yes, if you are willing to give us a chance, at least we still have a possibility. They wanted Zhang Zizai to die first, so that they would have a chance. After all, they knew that Zhang Zizai was just unkillable, but he did not have the ability to eliminate anyone. Unfortunately, from beginning to end, Zhang Zizai ignored them. He was thinking about the new realm of destruction. To be honest, his recent progress has been terrifyingly fast, but he still feels that he still has room for growth. In fact, it is very exaggerated, because his progress in the most difficult Tianyuan realm has surpassed all previous realms, almost surpassing the Wuming realm. Especially on the day of comprehending the Demon Tomb, he advanced to a new realm every few days, and rushed from the second level of Tianyuan realm to the current level. And during these thrilling times, his understanding of the destruction of Tianyuan has deepened day by day, and has now reached a deeper level, but he feels that it is still a little short, and this difference may be the so-called epiphany. Epiphany cannot be forced, so Zhang Zizai has no choice. He is also worried about how he can survive surrounded by these 8th level Tianyuan realm masters. He wants to try. When it was difficult to break through the realm, Zhang Zizai said to Zhang Yaoken, you hide first and save yourself. I will try to see if I can eliminate them. That's no problem. Anyway, you can ignore their attacks. It's enough for me to save my life. Zhang Yaoken nodded. He understood Zhang Zizai's idea. Although he ignored other people's attacks, he had almost no chance of survival before he had the strength to eliminate these people. Now the biggest possibility of this golden roulette is that it will expire in 10 days and everyone will die together. Ding! At the moment when Zhang Zizai stood up, the killing god Xianbing in his hand changed into a black long sword, and a bloodline in the middle of the blade was extremely dazzling. The fastest update reading, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 690. Under the source of destruction, his breath was extremely rough, and the whole person was like a raging beast. In this destructive momentum, his body was gradually covered with many black dragon scales, and the cold breath swept, and even ghosts were around him. The enhanced defense of this dragon demon transformation is useless to him now, but the attack and speed it brings are very useful. Such Zhang Zizai, with the killing god Xianbing, is actually very explosive. As soon as he used this weapon, it directly attracted everyone's attention. What kind of weapon is this? It is definitely a dry-level totem magic weapon. Moreover, it is very likely to be a top-level existence among them, and it is possible to reach the level of superior dry-level magic weapon. In any totem world, this is a very precious magic weapon, and it can only be used by the elders. Did he get this in the tomb of the ancient demon Tongtian? Why didn't it seem like this at the time? At least it wasn't so scary. The appearance of the killing god Xianbing made them feel nervous, and they looked at Zhang Zizai with even more unfriendly eyes. To be honest, they were really jealous. If Zhang Zizai had not been punished by the ancient god, they would have really thought that Zhang Zizai was the chosen one. Even so, seeing this unknown person get so many good things, they were still quite envious. If I can get this big tripod and this weapon, I'm afraid that even Fanjian and I can compete with him. Zhang Fanjian's eyes were blazing, and his snow-white face couldn't block the red light coming out of his eyes. He couldn't help but rush up first, but it was still in vain. When his attack suppressed Zhang Zizai, he was directly blown away. When he was sucked back into the golden roulette, Zhang Zizai killed him instead. There is such a person. Others will be blown away when they hit him, but he can attack himself unscrupulously. In fact, if you think about it carefully, everyone knows how depressed it will be. Zhang Zizai is such a person now. At this time, only Zhang Fanjian fought with him, and the others were still standing by and watching. Zhang Zizai used the killing god mystic soldier and the destruction heaven source, combined with the power of the totem, to perform the star god sword manual. For a moment, countless black meteors fell and suppressed Zhang Fanjian's head. 9 Heavens Thunder Tribulation World Destroying Sword Art. His killing god mystic soldier once again triggered countless thunders, shooting down along the meteors. Break. The battle at this moment was a vent for all the dissatisfaction in Zhang Zizai's heart. Maybe he was not strong enough, but only fighting could give him the courage to break through all these shackles. Boom boom boom. Under Zhang Zizai's suppression, Zhang Fanjian was very aggrieved. He could only passively resist Zhang Zizai's attack. Once he fought back, he would be blown away and fall all over. To be honest, he felt that if he continued to entangle like this, although Zhang Zizai could not kill him at the beginning, he might really die of exhaustion here after a few days. Turtle shell. No matter how much he yelled and how red his face turned, Zhang Zizai continued to attack, almost pissing him off to death. Zhang Fanjian had the Holy Soul Totem, and he was actually good at soul attacks, but the Demon Lord Cauldron could completely block even this kind of attack, making all his attacks fall on deaf ears. Get lost. He fled under Zhang Zizai's suppression, but he was the one who was forced to roll on the ground. When Zhang Zizai ignored his attack, even if the difference in the heavenly source power of Zhang Zizai's attack was huge, he would still suffer. I remember that when he first appeared, he didn't have such strength, right? He was probably only at the 4th or 5th level of the Tianyuan realm. How could he have such fighting power? Is this Zhang Zizai hiding his strength? Is he actually at the 8th level of the Tianyuan realm? It doesn't seem like it. His Tianyuan power is not strong at all, but his attribute nature seems to be very violent. Previously, they didn't think that Zhang Zizai could eliminate them, but now when they saw Zhang Fanjian in such a mess in front of him, the rest of the people looked at each other in bewilderment. Although it is still impossible to break his turtle shell, it will not be good for us if we continue like this. He has too much luck, we can't let him be arrogant. We must think of a way to control him. His Tianyuan power is still relatively weak now, we still have a chance. If his realm advances one more level, it will be difficult for us. This Zhang Zizai, I thought he was a mediocre person at first, but now it seems that he is not only outstanding in his comprehension ability, he may be comparable to Zhang Fanjian, a peerless genius. You overestimate him. To me, he is just a waste who got lucky and had a turtle shell. Without this turtle shell, he would have died 10,000 times. Zhang Fanjian gritted his teeth and said, he looked around at everyone and said, why are you still standing there, come together. He thought Zhang Zizai would not be willing to let others join the battlefield, but he never expected that Zhang Zizai would take the initiative to attack, and he looked like he was going to fight against the heroes. One person, fighting 8 people on the opposite side. He quickly went crazy because he was not afraid of death at all. In this case, he just needed to keep attacking. As long as he had the strength, he would keep attacking, pouring all the battle tactics he had learned directly on the 8 people. The killing god Mysterious Soldier also changed on his body. The power of this killing god Mysterious Soldier was several times stronger than that of the killing god. Wherever the sword energy went, it could force these guys of the 8th level of the Tianyuan realm to retreat. None of their weapons dared to take on Zhang Zizai's killing god Mysterious Soldier. Among all the golden color roulettes, Zhang Zizai was a unique alternative. He was the weakest in the golden roulette where he was, but he just chased a group of people and chopped them. Wherever the killing god Xianbing went, many people who were famous in the entire well of the god realm could only dodge and were in a mess. They tried every means to break Zhang Zizai's demon lord cauldron, and Zhang Zizai entered a state of selflessness, and all his thoughts were invested in the battle. Under the unrestrained, he began to enjoy the battle and the spoiling state. At that moment, he only had himself, the weapons in his hands, and the body movements under his feet in his heart. Everything about the ancient demon tomb was completely forgotten. This made him very pure, and there was only one word in his heart, that is, fight. Just destroy them. The rules of the game and the departure of Shen Xiao and the others had long made Zhang Zizai furious, and at this moment all the anger was transferred to his battle. He vented in the battle, forgot himself in the battle, and thought in the battle. What is the difference between the path he wants to take and others? If you can't figure this out once, then attack 1,000 times, 10,000 times. His ability to recover from the source of destruction is endless, and his ability to sustain combat is better than anyone else. At this juncture, for 7 or 8 consecutive days, he was completely immersed in a crazy state, becoming a machine without emotions, and everything was for the sake of fighting. The fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 691. In fact, it was the departure of Shen Xiao and the others that put Zhang Zizai into this state. He had always been pursuing to become a god. It was said that the ancient gods bestowed blessings on all living beings, and that noble existence was the savior who saved all living beings. But as Zhang Zizai went up, he found more and more that it was not the case. There seemed to be many ancient gods. The ancient gods seemed different. Each ancient god seemed to have his own 7 emotions and 6 desires. The so-called god is just a person at a higher level of life. This is what Zhang Zizai gradually realized. This caused a certain blow to his worldview. And in this ancient demon tomb, the ancient gods who took human lives lightly brought him a heavier blow, so that he became angry. The manic anger made him believe only in power and only in himself from this moment on. If the so-called ancient gods are just more powerful existences, then it's easy, I can also become a god. If you want to have the nature of a god and become the god imagined by mortals, then I'm afraid you still need great love. Zhang Zizai thinks that it is very difficult for him. Because, he is not that kind of person. He is unruly and passionate, pursuing freedom. He does not want to be a god with great love. In this case, it is just right. Maybe he does not know what the future holds. But today, he wants to go on. Today, he wants to take Shen Xiao and Ling Xian away alive. He brought them in. If he can only leave alive by himself, he cannot do it. This is a question of fundamental principle. Many thoughts in his mind were integrated into his killing god Xianbing at this time. All the chaos in the mortal world and even in the divine realm were involved in the enemy's body. Zhang Zizai regarded them as the source of his troubles and anger. As a human being, one should be free-spirited and be happy to repay kindness and revenge. As a god, one should stick to one's original heart. If there is no divine nature, one should stick to human nature. How can there be no divine nature and no human nature? If so, what is the difference between it and the so-called demon? If gods can slaughter all living beings, then humans can also kill gods. When Zhang Zizai had this thought for a moment, what he didn't realize was that the killing god Xianbing in his hand actually burst into a ferocious blood light, as if reflecting his heart at the moment. Kill gods! Kill gods! Kill gods! No matter what the method, it is killing gods, killing ancient gods. What a boldness! What a heroic spirit! This is the first time he has such a rebellious idea, but this time, he is sure that this is his unshakable will. Even if the world says that he is daring, so what? The so-called ancient gods cannot take away the nature life of the people they care about. He fought for the 9 immortals and the Xuanhuan. At this moment, he also wanted to fight against this so-called god for them. He didn't know where the future was, because there was no direction at all at the moment, but at least he had such a will, and this will was completely consistent with the killing god Xianbing, so the killing god Xianbing was resonating with him excitedly at this moment. Buzz buzz buzz. Unconsciously, the power of the killing god Xianbing was still growing explosively, and the 8 of them gradually felt the destructive lethality. And Zhang Zizai found what he wanted in this will. So-called destruction is not limited to one style. No matter whether it is a human, a god, or the universe, it should not change my will. So-called destruction should be unstoppable. No matter whether you are a god or the supreme, if you oppose me, rebel against me, or bully me, why should I bow my head? Only a fight to the death is the fighting spirit of our generation. Since we are going to destroy, we should disregard everything. When many thoughts emerged in his mind, as expected, the source of destruction on the totem sea expanded again, and the black petals grew again, and the patterns on it continued to become more complicated. Zhang Zizai had seen those newly added totems, but after understanding them at this moment, he was clearer. His realm broke through again in the transformation of the source of destruction, and this time, he reached the 6th level of the source of the sky. The realm broke through again, and the power of the source of the sky expanded again. Although it was indeed the 6th level of the source of the sky, the suppression power from the 10th level of the source of destruction was directly comparable to the 8th level of their source of the sky. Even without the demon lord cauldron, Zhang Zizai could compete with them at this time. With the demon lord cauldron and this terrifying willpower, facing them who were exhausted, Zhang Zizai, who had now recovered to perfection, became their nightmare. 3,000 stars. Meteors, stars, 3,000 stars. 3,000 stars is the last move of the Star God Sword Manual, and it is also the true power of the Star God Sword Manual. When this sword came out, 3,000 stars hung across the sky, and each star was filled with endless star sword energy. It was just that Zhang Zizai used 3,000 stars, which were 3,000 dark stars. In each star, countless stars were black, and each star burst out with sword energy, which was all black and full of the power of destroying the source of the sky. The destructive power between heaven and earth merged into these 3,000 stars. At this moment, 3,000 stars hung across the sky, and then suddenly fell down, and countless black destructive sword energy fell on the 8 of them. The power of this sword transcended everything. With crushing force, Zhang Zizai made his opponents shatter into golden fragments one by one under his 3,000 stars sword chi. How did you suddenly become stronger? Nan Tianyi, Huang Fulun, and the other 6 people were shocked. They were torn apart by the sword energy of the galaxy before they could react. They were defeated instantly. Before they turned into golden fragments, they all looked at Zhang Zizai in shock, trembling all over. Under the 3,000 galaxies, only 2 people survived. One was Zhang Fanjian, who was very cunning and hid behind others. The other was Zhang Shenhua from the Sword Soul Totem world. He relied on his swordsmanship to block Zhang Zizai's swordsmanship. At this moment, Zhang Fanjian's hair was messy. He was no longer the dandy boy, but looked like a beggar. He looked at Zhang Zizai blankly and said blankly, "Are you still hiding your strength?" "No, when I first came in, I was indeed the second level of Tianyuan realm. During this period, I broke through 4 levels in a row. Although I am only the 6th level now, I can already defeat you," Zhang Zizai said. "Haha, do you think I'm a fool?" Zhang Fanjian shook his head and laughed miserably. He didn't believe it at all. However, the more he did this, the more panicked he became. In the end, his trembling eyes showed that he actually believed it. "Don't kill me." He knelt on the ground and cried loudly. Not long after, he turned into golden fragments and slowly dissipated. "I didn't kill you, it was those people in the sky who killed you," Zhang Zizai said. The fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 692. After Zhang Fanjian turned into golden fragments, only Zhang Zizai, Zhang Shenhua and Zhang Yaokan were left on the golden wheel. Zhang Ziyi had just used the 3000 galaxy move, but Zhang Shenhua was the only one who really survived. Under the vertical and horizontal attacks of the star sword energy, he was covered with sword marks, and he was actually close to being eliminated. In fact, from beginning to end, Zhang Shenhua didn't say much. He just attacked Zhang Zizai with others. It's okay, he also has the right to make a living. Zhang Shenhua was with Xuanhuan from the Sword Soul Totem world. If it weren't for the narrow escape of this golden roulette, the two of them would hardly have fought. Now seeing Zhang Ziyi sweep through everyone with one move of the Star God Sword Manual, Zhang Shenhua was dumbfounded. Seeing Zhang Fanjian turn into golden fragments, a wry smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he said, "I didn't expect Hidden Dragon the Totem world can give birth to a magical person like you. I really believe that you can break through the 4th level in such a short period of time. With this big cauldron body protection, I have no hope, so just do it." He was straightforward and looked at Zhang Zizai with nothing but admiration. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. "Aren't you afraid of death?" Zhang Zizai asked. Before death, begging for mercy as painfully as Zhang Fanjian would be a true reaction. I guess, in fact, turning into golden fragments may not necessarily lead to death. The so-called soul servants may just scare us. After all, the ancient gods' tests have never been so chaotic, at most 1/10,000th loss of casualties, Zhang Shenhua said. "Is this sure?" "At least 90% or more," Zhang Shenhua said firmly. "Therefore, he is not worried about death at all." "Zhang Zizai, you are really incredible. I think you are likely to have a place in those 2 places. Keep going. I hope you can get those 2 places together with our Xuanhuan," Zhang Shenhua said seriously. Road. Xuanhuan, Zhang Zizai had almost forgotten this character. After all, after coming in, he had a lot of entanglements with Zhang Fanjian. Xuanhuan actually has a lot of tricks. He is just relatively low-key, and his combat power is even better than Zhang Fanjian's. "You will know when you meet him later," Zhang Shenhua said. After saying that, he put on a determined smile and directly attacked himself. After being severely injured by Zhang Zizai, he gently took action and let himself turn into golden fragments and disappear. After he turned into golden fragments, Zhang Zizai saw a change. That is, the remnant picture on Zhang Shenhua's arm was transferred to his body after it turned into fragments. At the beginning, the residual image of his space jade Peri also appeared on his arm like the tattoo, and they were connected together. Now Zhang Shenhua's broken picture made the broken picture in Zhang Zizai's hand more complete. He found that the broken picture in his hand had many parts that were not there before. Maybe I just eliminated Zhang Fanjian and the others and got their residual pictures, but I didn't notice them. On this golden roulette wheel, every time you defeat someone, you can get the opponent's residual map. Judging from what is happening so far, this should be the case. Most of the 8 people on the golden roulette will have residual pictures. Now that their residual pictures are in Zhang Zizai's hands, Zhang Zizai is close to half of them. The arms are now within the scope of the residual image. Of course, the 2 fragments he obtained from the tomb of the lowly servant and the tomb of the ancient demon Tongtian were very large, taking up most of the fragments on his arm. The other fragments combined were not as large as each of these 2 fragments. He hadn't looked carefully before. Maybe the broken pictures of Shen Xiao and Ling Xian were in Zhang Fanqian's hands. In other words, this road of narrow escape will lead to all the remaining pictures finally gathering in the hands of 2 people. The 2 people who survive in the end can get all the remaining pictures. If the fragments of the tomb of the lowly servant and the tomb of the ancient demon Tongtian are each equivalent to 10 fragments, then there will be a total of 120 fragments. Now Zhang Zizai has the equivalent of 30 fragments, which is already very large. The quantity is high. However, as long as he is eliminated on this golden roulette wheel, his residual picture will be transferred to someone else's hands in an instant. After figuring out what happened with the remaining pictures, he and Zhang Yaoken were the only ones left here. What Zhang Zizai is worst at in his life is attacking his own people. However, Zhang Yaoken thought more clearly than him. He smiled and said, "I have already thought about how to act if I meet one of my own. You have to listen to me this time." "How?" Zhang Zizai asked. "Regardless of anything else, just have a direct fight to determine the winner. The most unworthy thing is for 2 people to be eliminated together. It's better to just do it. And my thoughts are the same as Zhang Shenhua's. I don't think being eliminated means death. This is probably a prank by the ancient god, just to tease us and make the situation tense. I didn't expect that they all thought like this, no wonder they felt so relaxed. Just the ordinary elimination and promotion at that time will be enough. We are good friends and brothers, and it is fairest to speak with our true strength," Zhang Yaoken said with a smile. His way of handling it was also very convenient for Zhang Zizai. "Let's do it." While Zhang Zizai was still thinking, he took action first. Zhang Yaoken was at the 8th level of Tianyuan realm and had the totem Starry Sky Dragon Totem. At the center of his eyebrows, there is a dragon made of stars. The dragon is dazzling. When the source of evolution such as the starry sky shows its power, the golden wheel is covered by the starry sky in an instant. There are shining stars everywhere around. Those stars are extremely heavy and suppress Zhang Zizai for a while. This is the totem characteristic of the domain type. Zhang Yaoken's strength is similar to Zhang Shenhua and others. The key is that all the suppression of his current starry sky domain has been blocked by the demon lord cauldron. In fact, it has no effect on Zhang Zizai. The demon lord cauldron's protection of Zhang Zizai is almost unsolvable. Zhang Yaoken has tried several times in a row, but there is no effect. "It's my turn." Zhang Zizai made a move, and the stars of the Star God Sword manual directly suppressed Zhang Yaoken. Under the shining light of the stars, the power of the starry sky was suppressed, and Zhang Yaoken was suppressed. It can be clearly seen that even if Zhang Zizai does not need the Demon Lord Cauldron, he is actually stronger than Zhang Yaoken. To be honest, I was really shocked, because I know that your Tianyuan level is even higher than ours. It is the most difficult to improve your realm, but I never expected that you would have such a terrifying improvement speed in such a short time, Zhang Yaoken said with emotion. In fact, it is mainly because of this ancient demon tomb. If there is no tombstone to comprehend, it is absolutely impossible to be so fast, Zhang Zizai said. The fastest update reading. Please bookmark this site to read the latest novels.